What's going on, everybody? This is Strength Training with a Specialist. The purpose of this new series is going to be to offer insights into my training program because I think there's value in the thought process and the rationale that supports my program design. With social media, I'm always thinking about, what I can post that might provide value, and oftentimes I just feel like when I'm training, there's things that come up that would be useful for everybody. So I just kind of want to give people a little insight into my training and hopefully spark some inspiration and some creativity for your own program design. So just a brief background, I started training pretty seriously at the age of 13, began Olympic weightlifting, competing in it at 14, and really just have been lifting since then. So I'm 30 now, so that's 17 years of strength training. Now, when I got out of the military at 23, I began personal training professionally, as well as getting my education. So I have a bachelor's degree in clinical movement science and associates in health and wellness, and I'm going to be gaining my master's in physical education here shortly. I also have a teaching credential in physical education, and I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. So what you can expect from this series is to just gain trustworthy information that hopefully will help you in your own training and give you things to think about. Now, what not to expect is you're not going to be impressed by the weights that I use because I'm not incredibly strong, or you're not going to see high quality video editing and audio and things like that. So it's going to be pretty rough around the edges, and the real value of this series is just going to be a little bit of the information, and I might rant a little bit as well. So why should you listen to someone who's an exercise specialist anyway? And I think we can all kind of fall into the trap where with social media and the internet in general, there's just so much information out there. It's really hard to figure out where to focus your attention and your training. And it can become very easy for experts even, let alone amateurs, to kind of sift through all that information and figure out what is useful, and because ultimately you can't do everything all the time, because a common thing you see with people who are not experts or are not highly knowledgeable, and even people who are, is you get to this point where you keep seeing more stuff and you want to try to do it all at one time, and that's not a smart way to do it. So really, someone who's a specialist is able to kind of sift through all that and filter it and really just choose the things that are the most important, that can get a big return on the investment. So because ultimately we all have a glass, right? We're all glasses, and we can only be filled so much. So every time you do some type of training or any type of stress in your life, it's filling that glass with stress, and ultimately it's going to overflow. And so you only have so much capacity in order to of what you can do. So it's really just figuring out what is necessary, what needs to be done, what's most important to reach your goals. Now, context tends to be everything. So the context for my life is I'm 30 years old. I have 2 kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I work full time, so I don't have all the time in the world to train, but I still want to train and be physically fit. Now, that context really guides my training goals. So my ultimate overarching goal is longevity. I want to train in a way that actually makes me stronger, but also supports the fact as I grow older that I'll be able to move well, and I'm not training in a way that's ego driven and it's going to destroy my joints, right? So one of the common issues you see is you'll see people that they're ego driven in their training, and all they care about is how much weight they can put on the bar. But the problem with high performance, whether it be powerlifting and strength training, or it be some type of sport performance, is if you want to be healthy, don't compete, right? So if you're trying to always put in max effort into your training, it's possible that you're just leading to an injury, or it's actually probable. Anybody who's training high intensity all the time is very likely that they're going to get injured. So of course I do want to get stronger, and that's the purpose of this program. Is I'm always trying to get stronger, but it's doing it in an intelligent, smart way that you're trying to actually become stronger and you're not leading yourself to an injury. And so oftentimes that might be a little bit slower. It might require you using a little bit lighter weights and things like that. And that's kind of right where I'm at right now. So longevity and strength, but doing it the right way. So let's get into what I'm actually doing right now. This is a deload week. That's why I wrote week 0, and this is a really good time to start this video series because I'm just about to head into a 16-week program that's going to basically be 4 different cycles. So 4-week cycles, 4 in a row. That'll be 16 total weeks, and it will culminate in a 4-week cycle of conjugate. So I'm going to do 3 weeks of 5-3-1. Or a modified 5-3-1 that's inspired by Jim Wendler's 5-3-1, and then I'll roll into the final cycle, which will be the conjugate method, which was made famous by West Side Barbell and those powerlifters over there. And I'll be able to kind of discuss as I go through it the rationale behind the adjustments and the modifications I'm making to the program, especially as it relates to the context that we just talked about and my goals and the reasons I'm making the adjustments that I'm making. So the videos will be laid out just like this, and I'll just kind of talk over a video of one of my workouts each week and kind of explain that. Now, the video might end and then it will just be like a black screen. I'm also going to try to provide some layovers like this here. So this is a example of the program I'm currently running, or the week that I'm currently in training. And really what I'm doing is, again, I'm in a deload week. So you'll see that I got 3 workouts. And each workout has a primary lift. So session 1, 2, and 3, we got trap bar deadlift, military press, and front squat. Now the number you see there highlighted in yellow is my training max. So I use training maxes in my programming where the training max is 90% of my 1RM. And so all my percentages that I'm using to train off of are based on 90% of my 1RM. And that's just one example of how I try to promote that longevity, that aspect of safety and appropriateness and recovery. So you'll see that each one of these sessions, basically what the difference between the deload week and my other sessions are that the volume is down, the overall workout volume is low, as well as the intensity is low. So something that's interesting, so the average intensity here is obviously about 60%, and that's 60% of a 90% training max. So it's really actually 54%. And then the overall amount of reps that I completed, like for example in this workout here, I believe I did 65. I missed a few sets filming it, but I did 65 reps of shoulder press, right? And so the cool thing is that 65 reps in the workout is actually, again, it's lower volume than a typical workout that I would do, which would probably be in the hundreds of reps. But the actual military press volume was actually much higher than it would usually be. So these are the primary lifts that I'm going to use going into my next cycle of 5-3-1. And when I get into that cycle over the next 3 weeks, the most amount of reps I'll do for military press will be 10 to 20 reps, but the intensity will be much higher. But the cool thing here in this deload week is I'm still giving my body some recovery from that lower volume and intensity, but I'm still actually getting a novel stimulus in that military press is actually getting more reps than it will actually get in that cycle. So there's a bit of an element of kind of building up that work capacity and getting my shoulders ready for that next cycle. But then, of course, there's still like that element of active recovery because of the lower volume and intensity. Now, and then the other thing I like about the high repetitions here on the shoulder press in that primary exercise is I get an opportunity to really work on the form and technique before I start adding that intensity in over the next 3 weeks. So guys, this is what you can kind of expect from this series. I'm really excited. So this is week 0. Starting next week, we'll start with that the first cycle of 5-3-1, which is going to be an accumulation phase, and we'll talk all about the rationale and the concepts and methods and principles involved with all of this. So I'm excited for you guys to kind of go along this journey with me and kind of see the effectiveness of this program. Catch you next time.